My name is Chanel Jordan, and I'm an intern for the LEAP Academy under the Department of Public Works, or DPW. As an intern under LEAP, I'm responsible for overseeing a variety of administrative duties, including assisting with job verifications, filing, directing phone calls to the proper personnel, and assisting with the concerns of approximately 1,400 DPW employees. I am learning about administrative functions, office etiquette, and coworker relations. For those of you who don't know, LEAP stands for Learn, Earn, Advance, and Prosper. And on behalf of the ladies of the LEAP program, we would just like to thank you, Mayor Bowser, because prospering is exactly the right word for how we feel now that we have gone through this life-changing program. Mayor Bowser has made significant contributions throughout the district, including the wonderful LEAP Academy program. Those of us fortunate enough to participate in the LEAP Academy, thank you for giving us this grand opportunity to grow and prosper. On behalf of Interim Director Christopher Shorter, Deputy Director Carla Kirby, and the entire Department of Public Works, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you the Mayor, Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here in the wonderful Rosedale community. Where are the Rosedale residents? Let's thank them for inviting us to Rosedale. We were just here. Some of you I didn't see. It was for the Fit DC walk. I'm sure I'll see you at the next one. Where's the next one? Well, I'll be sure to get that information. But we're also here to talk about how we're going to make DC safer and stronger in some legislation that will move to the Council of the District of Columbia, namely a supplemental budget request for FY15. Let me acknowledge some of my staff who are here, the City Administrator, Rashad Young, the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice and the Deputy City Administrator, Kevin Donahue. The Deputy Mayor for Greater Economic Opportunity, Courtney Snowden. Our Budget Director, Matthew Brown. Chris Shorter, who is the Interim Director for the Department of Public Works and Transportation. And Deborah Carroll, who leads our Department of Employment Services. So I want to thank them for all the work that they are doing. So we're going to announce, and members of my staff will join me at the podium to answer specific questions. We'll take some questions from the press first, and if there are any community questions, we'll take them after that. After that, we're going to go on our community walk, and then I'll start my community office hours. So let me just give you the broad buckets of what our supplemental budget includes. First, we're going to talk about creating economic opportunity with jobs for DC residents. We'll talk about aspects of the agenda focused on working better with neighborhoods. We are going to provide more resources for security cameras and lighting in the community. And we will make much needed investments in our crime lab. All of this focused on how we make our city safer and stronger and create more opportunities so that more Washingtonians can be on a pathway to the middle class. So we will draw on a $117 million revenue increase that our chief financial officer forecast previously. And we will put these dollars to work where they belong, right back in DC neighborhoods. So let me take these items in order. First, a program we're calling DC Career Connections. And I'm going to talk about a population of people that you heard me talk about before, young people up to the age of 24. The unemployment rate for 20 to 24-year-olds is about 12.4% compared to overall unemployment of 6.8%. So Career Connections will focus on young people up to the age of 24 and will provide on-the-job training, internships between the months of October and June. We will give up to 400 people the training, skills, and wraparound services that they need to find success in their job and career. And we will draw on lessons learned from our summer programs, the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program. Second, you just heard from a leaper. Learn, Earn, and Advance and Prosper is a new initiative of the Bowser administration. Some have heard me call the LEAP Academy by its previous reference. I used to call it the DPW and DGS Academy. And what it is focused on is how we connect DC residents with jobs, specifically with vacancies in DC government. So the Department of Public Works will launch a pilot to connect 21 qualified individuals with jobs related to waste collection and fleet maintenance. Additionally, the Department of Parks and Recreation will hire 29 customer service representatives for DPR facilities. What we know is we have some beautiful parks and recreation facilities all around the city. And frequently, our residents don't engage them in every aspect that they can because we don't have the right intake staff at the parks and recreation facilities. So we want to change that. So both of these new positions, the positions at DPW and at DPR, will help us expand LEAP. And LEAP participants like Chanel would be able to be placed in those departments for openings in those departments. So those are several of the things that we are going to do. Let me turn to the final aspects, which include, I lost my page here, so I'm going to go to the next thing. So the other aspects of the program include how we're going to work with the communities. You've already heard me talk about many grants that will be available. So we will be including in this budget supplement $1.25 million for many grants where community organizations can help us with things we need, like mediation, like recreation activities, and connecting people who need more help getting into the very robust employment services that we have. We will fully implement our body-worn camera initiative as well. I moved this to the council in my FY16 budget, where the council removed significant funding from our original proposal. And we are putting that money back so that we will have 2,800 body cameras, and we will also be able to fund what the chief financial officer estimates that it will cost us to be compliant with FOIA requirements. That's good. So there's also a focus on crime cameras and lighting around our facilities. Like this recreation center, we will invest in 8 recreation centers where we know we need to upgrade lighting and cameras. We are also putting a $500,000 rebate program out for communities. So individual homeowner, business owner, church, or nonprofit, if you have a building, you can apply for the camera rebate program. So we're also making a significant investment in the district's crime lab, $8 million. So we also call the crime lab the Department of Forensic Sciences. It plays a critical role in how our whole criminal justice system works, and it's very important that it is operating at full capacity. I appointed a new director of the crime lab, and we're going to make an initial investment this year, but I anticipate, City Administrator, that we're going to have to do that for several years to come. Now, what this investment also means is that the police officers who are on the MPD budget and training and expertise and have a gun and badge are over at the crime lab doing analysis. Well, we're going to hire civilians to do that work at the crime lab, and we're going to send 50 police officers back to the streets. We're also, so I talked to you about the 50 police officers, and in the crime lab investment is also money for the chief medical examiner and the crime lab to test for synthetics. So we know with a whole $8 million commitment to the crime lab that we're going to get more officers out on the streets, and we're going to be able to increase our capacity to do a lot of the crime analysis that the whole system relies on. So those are the basics of what we're working on. We plan to submit the legislation to the council this week. I have briefed many of the council members, including the chairman of the council. They knew that we would be sending a package focused on safer and stronger initiatives. So we're happy to take any questions. Yes, Mr. McCartney.
Madam Mayor, can you tell us how much extra money is going into the youth career and?
Yes, it is $4.3 million. So we basically think that the two parts of the program are focused on jobs or job training. The new DC Career Connections program serving 400 at a cost of $4.5 million. And the second, the expansion of LEAP into DPW and DPR with creating 21 jobs at DPW and 29 jobs at DPR at a cost of $2.3 million. So a total of $6.8 million.
And all of that is local funds, none of it is federal?
All of it. Yes, sir.
What kind of privacy restrictions do you foresee now in terms of police body camera footage being released?
Sure. Let me have Kevin come up and talk about the specifics of the changes to FOIA that we will advance as part of our legislative agenda for the fall.
Sure. So as part of the both the regulations and legislation that we'll put forward around body cameras, we want to make sure we balance privacy and transparency. Now, to your question about what's released, and so let me divide this into two groups for the people listening. One is what's going to get released to the people who you were in the footage, you were the subject of behavior that you disagree with. And the short answer is that if you're the subject of a body camera video, if you're in the video, you will always have access to it. And it will structure that so your access is as fast as possible. And in fact, if you're the subject, we'll even have MPD at a station fill out the FOIA request for you so you don't have to go through the paperwork of doing that. If you're an individual who is not in the video, so you're an uninvolved party, but you might have an interest, so maybe you saw something that disturbed you and you wanted to see it, as long as that took place in public or in a space where the public is invited, which includes private establishments like restaurants, you would be able to FOIA the video, and with minimal redaction, the city would provide that video to those individuals. For members, advocacy groups, and members of the media, there exists a waiver on any fees. We have protected that waiver and extended it to body camera footage, so there will not be a financial impact for advocacy groups or individuals who really are trying to spread something more broadly.
When it comes to recreation centers, I was told by a couple of people that staffing is simply just too small. A lot of times there'll be hundreds of folks that hang out, especially summer evenings. These 29 people that you are proposing to hire, will they work at these centers? Will they fill in the gaps where needed? Is that your plan?
Yes, that's the plan. Now we're going, and I will say that we anticipate people asking us a lot of questions about why do we want more people in recreation centers. So it is important that we talk about these buildings. I don't remember what we invested in Rosedale, but it was a lot, 60. So Yes, it was quite between the pool, the recreation center, and the ball fields. It's a very significant investment here. And if the DPR director was here, he will tell you that we really need to look at all the positions at DPR to make sure that our folks are being fairly compensated, but also to make sure that we're competitive to attract and retain the best employees. So this time we're talking about the front. What is the term that we use? The person who is on the ground, the first person that somebody interacts with. Because the fact is, oftentimes, in our recreation centers, there's nobody at the front desk. So there's nobody being checked in, and so we know who's in the building, and there's nobody being referred to all of the programs and services. So we are recommending that we fill that void at DPR. Additionally, we are making sure we have a robust system of cameras, and we all know that cameras and footage really expand our public safety reach and our law enforcement reach as well. So it's very important that we fill the gaps where they exist with law enforcement.
Speaking of that, can you talk to me a little bit about your rebate? Councilmember Allen says he's going to propose legislation tomorrow that will give a $100 tax credit. Is this along the same lines of what your plan is as well?
I'm not familiar with the council member's plan, and if those programs can work together, we would be all in favor for it. What we're anticipating, I think the city administrator is going to work to put rules in place to outline the rules, but we would anticipate a rebate. Give me the number again, city administrator, the amount of the rebate per camera. $250 rebate per camera. Yes, Mark.
Is it the goal of this administration to have more D.C. residents be D.C. workers? I know there are congressional prohibitions, but do you have any percentage in mind, whether it be the police department, the fire department, the public works department, rather than what it is now? Are you working toward a numerical goal in each of the departments?
Yes, I would say if we could move so the DC residents predominated our workforce, I think that would be over 50%. It's like 43%. Is that right, Carla? It's about 43%, which is actually in the 8 years I've been in the government the highest it's ever been. But we have to keep that going. This is why programs like LEAP are important, because we're tapping DC residents, giving them training and putting them in line for vacancies that exist or will exist. So I often, when I talk about the retirement bubble at MPD, we are going to experience that retirement bubble across the government. And so we want to have DC residents that are prepared to take those opportunities.
In terms of safer and stronger,
yes.
Do you make the connection that if the police department had more DC residents, I realize the congressional interference with the hiring practices, this city would be safer and stronger. And what is the percentage of DC residents who are DC police?
Well, we don't make that connection in the legislation, so that would.
Your philosophy?
My philosophy is when government workers are closer to the people that they serve, they know the neighborhoods better, they are more familiar with the issues, they are closer, especially in the public services agencies if we ever have an emergency. So part of our 16 budget, Mark, actually focuses on how we are better retaining and attracting our officers. So we have a lot of officers to hire over the next several years. We want to make sure we have a competitive package to attract more, but we also want to keep more of our officers. And that is what that incentive package is focused on.
What is the percentage today?
I don't know that off the top. Does anybody know that off the top? I would have to get back to you with that number. Yes, ma'am.
Talk a bit about the amount of money and what you said would go towards community programs, getting them to work more towards the safer, stronger.
Sure.
You mentioned mediation. You you go into more detail about that?
Sure, and I'm going to ask Courtney to come up to follow on with this, but we actually have already announced this. We work with the DC Trust, which is responsible for putting out a lot of grants, especially related to young people. We asked them to identify buckets of work that we needed accomplished. We invited folks to like a pre-solicitation meeting, and I think some applications are coming in. We're having a second pre-solicitation meeting on September 22nd, and Courtney can talk about the buckets that we have asked people to respond to.
Thank you, Mayor. So we are making available $1.25 million in grant support, and grant amounts up to $25,000 in 5 communities. And we are working to make sure that communities have support around mediation and helping us to prevent beefs from flaring up. Additionally, we're working to make sure that they are preparing our young people with recreation activities that speak to those communities specifically. And thirdly, actually building the capacity of our young people and other community leaders in that community as well. So what you will see, as we have seen thus far, is a number of organizations working in the community already who have applied for this money and are eager to get started. What's particularly innovative about the program is individuals will also be able to apply for this money with the partnership of a 501c3 organization, and that piece we're incredibly excited about because we know that there are individuals and communities who have fantastic ideas about how to change the culture of their community and improve it, and they're working with organizations that have been on the ground doing lots of work and have strong track records to be able to create those innovative programs as well.
Yes, Mark. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. Robert.
The DC Career Connections, is that going to be administered by DOES?
Yes.
Or it is?
Yes.
Now, does this reflect, there have been some cutbacks in some of the funds that have gone to nonprofits and contractors and service providers. Is there a philosophy here that you would rather do it through DOES than through the contractors and service providers?
No, I'd rather do it with effective, proven organizations. And so I hold our own organizations to that standard as well. Now, I don't think there's no secret that I am interested in making sure that the many, many vendors that do workforce training in the District of Columbia actually produce the type of outcomes that we need. And we have a strong skepticism that doesn't always happen. So we're looking very closely, working with our Workforce Investment Council, and we're looking forward to making some announcements around our Workforce Investment Council in the coming weeks as well. If I understand your question, does DC Career Connections is that a reflection of how I feel about our vendors? No, it's not, but it is a reflection that we have a lot of at-risk youth that aren't being served by any program right now, especially during the non-summer months. So we are focused on year-round programming. Turning to the vendors that we work with, that's another question that we're also focused on. Okay, yeah, Bob. Yes.
Where does that skepticism come from? What is it that you've seen that raises concern about the effectiveness of the vendors?
Well, I'll see participants from time to time when I'm in the neighborhood, and people will tell me, I need some help. I want to do better. I know that I am on TANF, or I'm at Virginia Williams, or I'm at DC General, and I really want some help getting on the right track. And then they'll tell me, I went to this place and I'm not getting the help that I need. So while those are some anecdotes, we also are undergoing through the city administrator's office kind of our cap statting, if you will, of workforce development programs. So quite frankly, when I went in, I thought we would be able to kind of get to the bottom of the issue in a couple of sessions, and it's taking a little bit longer. Yes, sir.
The Pope is coming to town next week. Any last-minute preparations, any concerns that you still have going into next week with the Pope?
No, we'll be preparing and executing up until his arrival. I think you know we were with our federal partners and the whole team that is involved in national special security events last week. Our Department of Transportation and Metro provided additional information around the Pope's visit, which we're very, very excited about. But we are also asking our residents and employees and visitors to be mindful of the detours and closures and to plan accordingly. We are also suggesting to residents, I think, and I want to thank all of our media partners for getting the information out far and wide, but a lot of the events surrounding the Pope's visit are ticketed events. The events that are open to the public in downtown on the National Mall, we're encouraging people that would be the best place to see the Pope. So following his visit to the White House, there will be a parade. That's on Wednesday, the 23rd. And the following day, on Thursday, he will be delivering a joint speech to the joint session of Congress. And there will be jumbotrons on the National Mall where people can see the Pope as well. So just be mindful. Most of the events are ticketed events. The best places to see them are down on the mall on the 23rd and the 24th. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, a community question. Yes, ma'am.
I was listening to you. You said if homeowners would put cameras on their homes, that we would get a rebate for installing those cameras?
Yes, ma'am. And so the city administrator is working on the program, how the program will be implemented and which one of our offices you would call. And that would be a rebate program that we hope to announce the details of soon. Yes, Ms. Gilbert.
Mayor, I just want to thank the community and the mayor for coming.
Thank you,
Rosedale community,
you.
coming out and meeting the people.
Thank you.
And presenting the supplemental legislation package, because it's important that you meet the people where they are.
Thank you.
So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we're off. Greg, where's Greg Jackson? He's starting the walk. So for those of you who may not be familiar, every now and then, probably monthly or a little bit longer than that, I walk with our mayor, the mayor's office of community relations, and we look at neighborhood issues. And this month, it's in Rosedale. And following that, several people residents will call the office who want to meet with me. And so we schedule those meetings during community office hours. And I will come back after the walk to have those community office hours. Okay, thank you guys.